Hey, welcome back everyone to Two Nobodies, another version of Two Nobodies Talk. And she decided to come back, which is great. Her first episode was awesome. I think she did so well. May, welcome back to Two Nobodies Talk. So excited to talk to you again.
Thank you.
I don't know if we're going to be talking about cockroaches again, but that seemed to be a hot topic the last time.
Yes. Hopefully not. Hopefully not this time. They did spray it today, so hopefully that this is the last time. We'll see.
The issue is done. For people who don't know, May was talking about how cockroaches in the Philippines are just another level, and she didn't
massive.
see. Yeah, you didn't think that these things were even cockroaches, so I found that pretty funny.
No, I saw a tiny dead one today when I got home after they sprayed it, and I thought maybe it was just a piece of dirt, but no, it was an actual cockroach.
Our Canadian cockroaches are just sad. That's pretty much the message.
Which is good. You don't want them.
I don't want the big ones. Yeah. No, they can stay there.
They can stay in Asia.
Yeah, they can stay in Asia. That's perfectly fine. What's been going on with you? I mean, it's been a few weeks, and you said you were at some sort of financial conference and such, and learning about all kinds of things. But you're in beautiful BC, so how was that?
I love BC. I was in Whistler for 4 days, and then Vancouver for 4 days after.
Is skiing? Are they starting to ski there yet, or is it too early?
No, there was no snow yet.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. We got to Whistler. There was no snow. It snowed the next day, and then it melted. So there's no skiing. But the weather is beautiful. People were outside eating on patios. It was nice.
Sounds so wonderful.
It was.
I mean, we've had some decent weather here right now, but I mean, it's not patio season. That's
not
for sure.
Patio season. No, I was dreading getting off the plane yesterday because I hadn't checked the weather. So I had my coat on. I was like, oh my gosh, here we go, -20. Yeah. Oh, it was really nice.
Yeah,
so it was
it's such a stark contrast when you're in the plane flying from Vancouver to Edmonton, when just like beautiful mountains and then it's just flat prairies. So.
I know. I was looking out the window. I was in the middle seat, and then the captain said, "Everyone on board." So I had all 3 seats to myself. I just sat on at the window and stared out. It was so nice to see the different mountains. Flying over BC, it was just mountains, no snow, and then as we got to Alberta, it was just pure white mountain. It was really nice.
Yeah. Any hiking or do anything physical, like physical
activities? Yes, of course. Whenever I go to BC, I have to walk around.
Yeah.
I got my steps in.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah, I finally got to see Stanley Park. I wanted to see Stanley Park.
You've never been there?
No, I wanted to see Stanley Park my whole life.
Yeah. And what did you do at Stanley Park?
I just walked around.
Yeah. Did you walk the entire seawall?
I did.
Yeah.
Yes, it was beautiful.
Yeah,
I thought about riding a bike because everyone was riding bikes, but it was really windy, so I didn't want to ride my bike in the wind.
Just fall off the seawall.
Yeah, just fall off the seawall. I know, but no, it was so nice. Yeah, I had no idea it looked like that.
We were in Vancouver this summer. We usually vacation near the Sunshine Coast, but we were in Vancouver on our last day, and we were in Stanley Park. But it was the weekend that I don't know why I thought this was pretty cool, but LeBron James was in Vancouver.
Oh, really?
And I was just like, man, King James is in the city. This is pretty cool. I guess he was there for a Kendrick Lamar concert, but I was like, maybe I'll see him walking. The seawall, but of course that was never going to happen. But in my small mind, I was hoping for.
No, it would have been cool to see him.
I think so. Yeah, I think so for sure. That's Well, I think he's. Are you a basketball person or no?
I watch it with my son. He's a Raptors fan, so it's actually on my list. I want to take them to a Raptors game. I was hoping to take them when they were in Edmonton.
I went.
Did you? Oh, really?
Yeah, it was awesome. It was amazing. It was the closest I've ever sat to an NBA, like in the NBA, because I figured it was preseason, it wasn't going to be that expensive, but it was still fairly expensive. I was able to get the tickets, they always have the pre-sale, and so I was able to get through there. So I got a decent deal, but it was still very expensive. But it was awesome, to see the Raptors in Edmonton, and it was weird too. I grew up in Toronto, and I went to Raptors games there, so I know what the atmosphere is like.
Yeah.
But just to have them here was a neat experience. Yes. Different for sure.
No, I didn't know they were in town until the day before. Yeah, I
Okay.
was just driving and then I heard it on the radio, and
Oh,
so I looked online and just on Marketplace, they were too expensive.
yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
'Cause I thought
They
about
were
taking
the,
one child, but then that wouldn't have been fair.
yeah.
And only one of you can go.
The only one you can go. Yeah. 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 Those tickets were on sale. I think the game was early October. Tickets were on sale like mid-August. So
Oh yeah, see, I didn't even know. It was too
yeah.
bad. But
Yeah.
maybe I can go to Toronto one day and take my kids, because that would be fun too.
But it'll be a lot of fun. I mean, there's so much to do there. So yeah, I definitely encourage you to go see a Raptors game.
Yeah. Oh, it's on my list. I think my goal for 2023 is to see more of Canada.
Mm.
Just see what else our country has to offer. I think everybody goes out of the country to travel, but we have so much to offer here.
Well, I think people don't necessarily travel within their own country.
Yeah.
Like I have family in India where they haven't traveled really throughout
Yeah.
India, and I've had friends who've traveled more in India than they have. Like it's just
Yeah. And that's the same thing with the Philippines. When I want to go to the Philippines, but I want to actually see the country. I don't want to just stay at the hotel the whole time.
Sure.
Yeah. But in Canada, there's like Churchill, Manitoba with the polar bears. I want to see that. I think that would be awesome for the kids. The polar bears get right in front of the windows.
Is that really true? Like, is it
I was looking at
they can
pictures.
guarantee these polar bear sightings?
I think so, because they're everywhere. They're just walking around town. My son says it's illegal to lock your car doors in Churchill, Manitoba, because people need to be able to jump in if there's a polar bear. I don't know if it's true.
I think you need to go and you need to
Yeah,
report
I
back
need to
to
check.
us
I
all.
need to make
Yeah.
sure. It's gonna be my duty to make sure that people
Yeah.
don't lock their doors.
You just this random May
Random
just
person.
walking open
Yeah,
doors and
hopefully there's
yeah.
no polar bears in town.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
no, that's something I didn't even know there were polar bears in Churchill until a couple of years ago.
Okay.
That's
Yeah.
just amazing to me.
Is that your dream Canada trip, or is there another dream Canadian trip that you'd want to do?
That is definitely one of my dream
Okay.
trips. On Google, there's always these pictures of places in Canada that you've never heard of. I want to go exploring in all those areas. Just random, unknown places. I think that would be really neat. But
Yeah.
the problem is, I want to bring my kids with me.
Okay. Why is that a problem?
Because then I have to make sure they don't miss school and they don't miss
Okay.
gymnastics. The kids just get in the way of everything.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But I want to travel with them. I want them to experience the world.
My dream trip across is to take the train from one coast to the other,
I
and
was just
then
looking at that.
eventually get to PEI and play a little golf. That's my
Yeah,
that's my
I was
dream.
literally just looking online before we jumped on here. It's called Via Rail.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you fly over to Vancouver and then you take the train all the way from Vancouver to Halifax. I was looking
Did
at
you
that.
cost it?
I was looking at the price.
Yeah.
It's about 4,000 each.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I gotta sell a lot of life insurance for that
Yeah.
to be able to pay for my trip.
Yeah. Dream trip or what's any dream trips around the world? Like what sort of tops the list?
Yes, absolutely. I've always wanted to go to Europe.
Okay.
I want to see the Colosseums. I want to see the Sistine Chapel. Everything that has history, I want to see it. Yeah. And Egypt. I want to get lost in the pyramids of Giza.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, so this is why I'm single, because I have to find a partner. Unless the guy is exactly like me, it's a no-go. He has to be adventurous. He has to be willing to get lost in the pyramids with me.
Well, this podcast is really about finding May a partner. That's
why
we have her on.
Oh my God.
Just so that out of out of the 70 or 80 people who viewed your last episode, hopefully somebody will contact me and they'll be like,
oh my gosh.
I need her contact info because
That's funny because at the conference, my teammates found out I was single, so they went around talking to single guys for me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And my senior marketing director was like, no, please don't. Not in the office.
Right.
But no, I'm happily single.
Well, this is where we shift to how you told me you're a bit of a conspiracy person, because maybe
gosh,
that
yes.
your prospective partners might want to know how
Yes,
like
to
deeply
make
involved
sure.
you are in conspiracy. No, I'm just kidding. We should talk. We should talk. We should talk about that, because I think it's important we appeal these sort of things.
I
And
think you don't want a surprise. Like when you're in a relationship, you want to make sure that the person knows what they're getting into.
And I think that's one of them. I think that I would there would be a problem between my wife and I if she told me, X amount of years later that she
The
is just
conspiracy theorist.
or a complete junkie in that sense. I'm not sure
Oh, yeah,
if that's the case for you, but
no, definitely not a junkie. No.
okay. All right. Well, let's get there. But we're recording on Black Friday out of all days. So I was like,
Oh
what's
my gosh.
trending today? And everything's just like, this store is
Everything.
trending. This store is trending. I'm like, okay, well, that's not really interesting. But what is interesting is sometimes, I don't know if you ever look at these kind of Black Friday videos every, like after, an event happens, but you'll look at like the Walmart Black Friday videos. Have you seen these in the past?
It's insane.
They're pretty notorious. Yeah. I mean, like people are just trampling each other to get their TVs
Which
and
is
such.
so disgusting. I don't understand that.
Well, I wonder if that's returned with with even higher energy because of the pent up pandemic, and if people are just like, I got to get returned back to that.
Even worse than that?
Oh,
That's
maybe.
horrendous. People trampling. There's women like fighting over it's terrible. I don't understand. I don't know.
Maybe online shopping's dampened that, but I mean, these stores got to compete, and I feel like Walmart's always. I mean, their profit margins are so high; they can.
Walmart is the worst. You see the most interesting people at Walmart.
I have I don't know if it was Black Friday or I think it was Boxing Day when I was a kid.
Boxing Day.
When I was little, there wasn't Black Friday, but there was Boxing Day, and that was like an actual just a single day. And I remember being dragged to like the women's clothing store by my mom and all my aunties and stuff, and my sister and everything, and then I'd have to like stand in the corner because like all these women are shopping for their clothes. It was the worst day of my life. Like
I used to work at the mall in my 20s. I worked at Chinook Mall in Calgary.
Okay.
And Boxing Day was terrible. Nobody was allowed to take the day off, and the mall opened early, and we had to be there even earlier.
Okay.
To get the store ready, and there were people lined up outside the door waiting for us to open. I could never do that. Ever since I left the mall, I've never gone on Boxing Day. That's just insane. I refuse. I hate crowds. I hate shopping. I'm not going. I'm an online shopper.
Well, I was going to ask you that. Like, are you someone who likes to just walk around the mall and just kind of look at things? Or are you more of like in and out, you know what I want?
I'm in and out.
Okay.
I will deliberately park as close to the store that I'm going to.
Yeah.
So I can just run in, grab it, and out. Yeah, I hate shopping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No. I think your stock just went up with a lot of guys here. Just be like, I
hate shopping. I like the outdoors.
Yeah. I think this is working for you for sure.
Perfect. It's what I've always wanted. That's why I agreed to be on there. Because dating apps, no. The thought of going on a dating app right now makes me sick. So this is the next best thing.
Well, I asked you last time why you wanted to record podcasts. You failed to tell me this.
Oh yeah, I kept that hidden.
Yeah.
The truth comes out.
Yeah. Well, this will be her last episode. So.
It's like a dating app now.
Yeah.
A dating podcast.
Yeah. You said you have a lot on your mind. What's weighing on your mind these days?
Work for sure. It's just, I've been having trouble sleeping, just worried about work because I have the two businesses with the clinic and then my finance business. Yeah. And then I'm a single mom. So it's hard to sleep sometimes just with everything that's happening. That's the difference between being an employee. You go home, you relax. But as a business owner, I go home and I brainstorm.
It's amazing, me. That I mean, like two businesses, single parents. It's a lot for you to handle, and you seem like you're taking care of yourself and
I'm trying. Yes,
that's pretty awesome. What would you say is I don't know if there's a biggest challenge, but what are some of the main challenges that you deal with as a single parent? Like, what are some tough ones?
I find I have to be both a mom and a dad. So I'm the sweet, patient mom, but then I have to be the tough, disciplinary dad at the same time.
And how does your son react to you having to play that dual role? Like, is that tough for him?
My son actually, he said something the other day that actually broke my heart. Because if you ask my kids how I am as a mom, they'll tell you I'm the best mom. It's actually really sweet. But I asked my son, I'm like, how do you think I am as a dad? And he says, I don't know the answer to that because I don't know what a good dad is. And I was shocked because his dad is a good dad. I think he's a better dad than he is a husband. So I had to say to him, I'm like, don't say that. Like, your dad loves you. He's doing his best. And he says, yeah, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. I can't. You're definitely a good mom, but I don't know about being a good dad because I don't know what that is. So that really surprised me. But I do find, and like, you have a mom, you're close to your mom, and everyone's told me this, the son and the mom's relationship is very special. And I find that with my son for sure.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine, I mean, I think about my daughter, right? I think there's like the father-daughter thing too, right? Like you know, assuming that, you know, my daughter wants to get married one day and as she marries a male, then like my mind is already thinking about like, okay, I kind of know how men think and all that kind of stuff, right? So you connect on that level. And so I imagine the same thing is true for my mom, right? And so, I mean, there's that connection, just understanding the opposite sex. But yeah, that's unfortunate, and that's really sad to hear that.
It was
that he
really
feels that
sad
way.
to hear. But I know that he actually talks to me more than he talks to his dad, especially about things that his dad should be teaching him. His dad's very awkward. So when he asks questions, he gets really weirded out and he'll say, go ask your mom. She has the background in anatomy. So then he'll ask me all these questions that I'm personally not comfortable with it. Sure. Like about his sexuality, and he's going through puberty, and he's asking me about
he's 12
girls.
or 13.
He's 12.
Yeah.
And he has a crush on
at this point, by the way, you need to stop. You need to stop talking about this because he's going to listen to this and he's going to be
I know he's going to be so mad.
Mom's stock just went down. Like, this is, yeah.
Oh, so. Yeah. He doesn't like me talking about that. But yeah. No, I do have to be, that's definitely the most challenging part. I have to be both the mom and the dad. I have to talk to him about things that a dad is supposed to talk to him about. And then with my daughter, she's only 7, but she's already really smart, and she's asking me all these questions, and just, I want to say ask your dad, but I know he's not going to talk to them about it. So it's all on me. And I find too, as the mom, my ex seems to rely on me a lot more. So if he has,
what do you mean by that?
If he has something to do, he expects me to take the kids, even though it's his week. And if I say no, it's what kind of a mother doesn't want to take her kids. But it's his week. And yeah, I find that as a mom, you have to sacrifice a lot more.
Yeah, that's interesting. Like that, yeah, there might be a lot of there could be a lot of dads out there who just think that know that mom's always going to be there, so I can kind of get away with that.
No,
just the thought of that makes me like cringe inside. To I don't know. I would just always want. I always want to be there for my daughter. Like my dad was like, you know, my dad died about 5+ years ago, and it was like he was always present in my life, and so to lose him was like to lose this, you know, deep presence that I hadn't felt before. But I revere him so much because he was always there, and I it was I remember going through sex ed in high school, and I remember I freaked him out with some of these questions because he was just
that's
like,
what I'm
and
dealing with.
he hung in there for an Indian dad. He hung in there, but those were not some. I remember him feeling really awkward. I'm like, I'm just gonna keep making him feel awkward here. I'm gonna keep asking with these questions and see how he rolls. But at least he was there, and I think that would have been really difficult to have with my mom, and I wouldn't even feel comfortable. So to place myself back at that age where your son is at, and you seem very progressive, and you seem very obviously you know the human body, all that. You're willing to talk about these things, and that's huge. But still, like as a young teenage boy, it's you don't want to go to mom for these things. You want to go
but he knows he
dad,
can.
So, yeah,
it feels good knowing that he knows he can come to me about anything. It does feel good, but at the same time, I do wish his dad was a little bit more progressive. But I find the human body tends to be sexualized, and that's what I don't like. So when I talk to my kids about the body, I make it sound very natural. Sure. Because, for example, my daughter is in gymnastics, and they wear the body suits. Her dad makes her wear shorts, and so I have to explain to her, because she's like, "Oh, I forgot my shorts today. Dad's gonna be so mad." And so I have to say, this is your actual uniform. When you're competing, you're not going to be wearing shorts. So if you're just be comfortable with your body, nobody's looking at you, you're here to just train. Otherwise, she's going to feel uncomfortable in the bodysuit, and that's what they have to wear.
Totally.
And same with the male gymnasts in the class. The kids don't wear shirts. They just wear the shorts. Oh, okay. And my son was like, "Oh, how come they're not wearing t-shirts? Isn't that weird?" I said, "Not at all. When you watch the Olympics, a lot of the men don't wear shirts." So I'm trying to just get rid of the stigma around the human body. I don't think it's right. And I say the proper anatomical names for all the body parts.
It's the same thing we do with our daughter. We started right from the beginning. We taught her the right language, right? And so it's just natural for her. But
very natural. It should be. It's just a body part.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thanks for sharing that. I mean, it's I was thinking about that last time, just sort of what you have to go through, and just how your kids are having to deal with that. But to kind of not have that male figure is huge. So
a positive male figure.
Positive male figure.
Positive male figure. And I find the double standards is really bad. For example, I wanted to take my daughter to Shawn Mendes concert, and her dad was like, "Oh, that's a little too mature for her." But then I find out a couple months later, he's taking her to Red Hot Chili Peppers.
Oh, okay.
And my son pulls me aside and he says, "I couldn't sleep last night." I said, "Oh, what happened?" And he says, "I just thought it was weird that Dad wouldn't let you take her to Shawn Mendes, but he took her to Red Hot Chili Peppers. So Dad's a hypocrite." And I just stayed calm, and I said, "Well, as long as you know what's going on, I just want you to be aware of what's happening." I didn't go, "Yeah, he is." That's just terrible. But I was in shock, and I just nodded my head. Yeah. So the kids will see what's going on, and I just have to be the best mom and dad in one that I can be. But it's freaking tough, especially when they don't listen.
It's you're at the age where you're raising a teenager, right?
Yeah, they know everything.
Yeah.
Yes. So I know nothing, and they know everything there is about life.
What's your latest I'm old kind of moment, like, because they remind you that you're out of touch with this, mom, like,
oh my gosh, there's so much. Like, have you heard of YouTube Shorts?
Yeah.
I had no idea.
Well, I kind of have to, because I mean I post on all that stuff. So
do you? Yeah. No, I am so out of touch with technology. My 7-year-old is punching buttons on my phone, setting up my YouTube channel, and she's practicing her gymnastics on YouTube Shorts, and she's editing it. And I'm like, what the heck is all this?
Okay, I need her help. I haven't got to that level, but
I have no idea. No, I'm getting old, and all the TV shows that they watch, Alvin and the Chipmunks, Arthur, these are shows I used to watch when I was 8.
Right.
And they're brand new now. Alvin and the Chipmunks are in high school.
But
they used to be like,
bizarre.
I know. And they have smartphones and they drive a car. I'm just like, I'm old. I am getting old.
Yeah. Is there anything that's come, like any lingo or anything that's come from your son these days? Or you're just like, what?
Yeah, what? Just so random things like, oh, my daughter, she's just like, hello, Avi. And I'm just like, what the heck is Avi? Short for obvious.
Yeah, obviously, then, right? Yeah.
Yeah, and they say a bunch of stuff, and I'm just like, please don't. I don't know what any of that means.
Yeah.
But it's all technology. That's why it's good to not let them get exposed too much technology.
Do they have phones?
So my daughter has a phone. That's how she does all the YouTube Shorts. My son just lost his phone, actually, because, he was getting, because you don't have a son, but I've talked to other people who have sons or little brothers. They get into their games like it's real life, like they're actually dying. They think they're dying. So I had to take his phone away because he is playing Roblox. I think I'm pronouncing it right. Roblox. Yeah, see? And he's yelling at the game because it's not doing what he's doing and he's dying, but he honestly thinks he's dying. So I take it away.
Is he wearing like VR goggles or something? Like
not even. He's just on his phone and he's yelling because I guess you can chat with other players in the game. So he's yelling at this person that's playing, or somebody leaves. He goes to join the game. His classmate leaves. It hurts his feelings. So he gets upset. So apparently he had to have a talk with his teacher because his classmate kept being mean to him on the game. I don't know about these kids. So I don't believe in all these games. It's just too much stimulus for their minds.
I was a huge gamer back in like late high school, early university. It was like we would have. Do you know what a LAN party is?
No, see, I don't know what any of this is.
Your son's gonna be like, I like that guy.
Yeah, he's gonna talk to you.
I don't know if LAN parties are still a thing, but essentially, you'd go to these internet cafes and you'd play these video games, and because you're all connected on the same network, everything would be super fast. So we'd always play these games like Counter-Strike and StarCraft.
I've heard of that.
Yeah. So we'd play a lot of that. But I just found out actually from somebody that I think it was in Vancouver that you can actually do virtual reality Counter-Strike where you're like all in the same room.
Oh my God,
and so then you have like these you're holding onto a gun and you actually like are physically like interacting with people and you like can see them on the map. And I was like, that is wicked. That is so cool.
Yeah, my son would get kicked out of that one. Anything with shooting or interacting just drives him crazy. He thinks it's real life. So we've had to sit him down and say, this isn't real. Okay. This is not real.
Yeah. Well,
but I've talked to other people and their little brother does the same thing. Like they're screaming and crying and swearing at people. Yeah, it's not real life.
There's a lot of chit chat. I remember I was going to be invited into like a clan because I got so good, and then it was just like you'd be part of this like community, and
that's just so
it's
weird.
Like life. It was like my whole life for a summer. Like that's all I did. Yeah, but it's I know, but it's you feel like a sense of belonging. You know what I mean, to this community.
Why can't you belong in real life?
It's harder. It's a lot harder. It requires a lot more work. I'm not saying like I'm like that now, okay? Like I have
you're socially awkward.
I have real people friends and I interact with real people. Like I don't just talk to people on a screen all the time, just once a week when I'm doing my podcast.
Well,
That's
that's what
pretty
I'd be
much it.
worrying about with my son. Like
Yeah.
that he might be antisocial. So wouldn't it be better for them to actually meet in person, not just hide behind the screen?
I've always wanted to find a guest where I could talk to them about the impacts of gaming and what that has, because I think the general thought from people is that it has such a negative influence. But I think I've read some research that where people said it's actually there are a lot of benefits from gaming. But yeah, I want to find somebody
There's
to talk
pros
to
and
about that.
cons because so my son has ADHD
Okay.
and he's been seeing psychologists since he was 5. But one of the psychologists we went to, he was against gaming for kids with ADHD because it did something to their brainwaves.
Okay.
But I did read that gaming on the other spectrum, gaming is really good for kids because it teaches them reflexes, critical thinking, and then socializing with friends online. So yeah,
Could be
it
like
depends on
teamwork
who
as
you're.
well.
Yeah, teamwork, because then you're playing with other kids and you're like collaborating and planning. But then on the one side, one says it's not good for the brain, too much stimulus, and then the other one says it's good for thinking. So it would be interesting to find out what other people think. Because I know with my son, with his ADHD, within an hour of playing, it kicks in. Like his face is bright red, his eyes are all glassy, he gets extremely irritable, his hands will start moving. Yet my daughter, when she games, she's perfectly fine. So depends on the child, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah, because my daughter doesn't have ADHD. She can play a game just fine.
And
But with my
just step
son,
away from it, no problem. And
yeah, time to turn it off. My son, you try to turn it off, he will scream, he will cry. It's a huge ordeal.
Yeah. These video game companies, like, I mean, I think it's a multi-billion-dollar industry, especially when, you can, especially through mobile gaming, right? I mean,
Yeah.
you can just purchase all these little things, and
Yeah.
parents have their phones connected to their credit cards. So like, I've heard so
Yes.
many stories of like parents getting dinged with all kinds of outrageous bills because
Yeah, I did.
children is buying you. That happened to you?
Yes, my daughter didn't know it was real money
Oh, okay.
because their phones are linked together. So I let my son buy something. And then
But
my
like,
daughter was,
why is it linked to a credit card though? Or you
oh,
had that
no,
set?
it was linked to my credit card, but their phones are linked to my account so I can keep track of what they're doing.
Oh, okay.
She didn't know it was an actual card, so she kept buying all these things. And then I kept getting email after email, and I just kept ignoring it because I just wasn't looking. And then finally I looked, and she charged over $100.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Yes. And my son was so upset. He lectured her on being irresponsible and stealing,
No.
stealing money. Yeah. So I took my credit card out, but I
Yeah.
was not expecting it because with my son, it was never a problem. But yeah, my daughter just went on a shopping spree.
Yeah. Yeah, it's like this virtual world that everyone's getting connected to. I mean, like Facebook changed their whole image and their brand. Did
Yeah.
you hear about that, to Meta?
Yeah.
And
Meta.
they're just like, that is what they want to focus on, is just that. It's interesting, like they've doubled down on that. Like they must see something that a lot of other people don't. Like a
Yeah.
company like Facebook, really, really intelligent people, that they're willing to like bet their whole, company on something like this, is really interesting to me.
Yeah, it is. Like what do they know that we don't?
Yeah. And like,
That's making them make all these decisions.
yeah. And there, people are buying like virtual real estate and stuff. Have you
Yeah.
heard about this?
Yes. That
I
just
don't get
baffles
it.
me.
Like, how is
That
that?
just
How,
baffles me.
I mean, people obviously can find value in all kinds of things, but like, it's just,
No.
I don't know. Like,
No. There's these eggs that people sell
okay.
and people are buying eggs. I don't get it. I still get it.
What do you mean? There's like, what kind of I don't know.
Like a virtual egg.
Okay.
I think it's called like NFT or EFT
Oh yeah. Okay.
or and this one guy just bought this egg. To make him feel good about himself. I don't know.
Yeah.
I have crypto. I invest in crypto.
I was going to ask you. That was my next question. Is
yes.
How's your crypto wallet these days?
Not very good.
Yeah.
But
Right.
I'm just gonna hang in there. I've given up on Ethereum and I might do Bitcoin again, but I'm focusing on XRP and Quant right now.
Okay. And so, how are you? Would you say you're a pretty knowledgeable crypto investor, or like what's your approach?
I would say I'm a novice,
Okay.
but I have friends who are very good at crypto, so I always ask them for advice.
What does very good in crypto mean?
Very good in crypto, as in they know people who
know people?
advise them on crypto, on current events and which one to buy into, which one to sell right now. So I just ask them for advice.
Okay. Interesting.
But the consensus is so far XRP. So I'm going to stick to that for now.
Okay. And XRP, I don't know that coin, but is it supporting some sort of blockchain network, or is it
I'm sure I don't know.
Okay. Okay.
There's a lot going on with XRP right now. So until my friends say take all your money out, I'm just gonna leave it all in. Yeah.
Okay. All right. I'm in a little bit of crypto. The way I kind of see it is I'm trying not to get caught up in like the trading of coins, but like investing, like buying coins that are tied to, because essentially it's all crypto is based on blockchain networks, right? Like that's how it all works. And so I'm trying to buy coins that I think based on networks that I think are going to be strong. So like, I mean, everyone thinks like the Ethereum network is going to be a really dominant one. So it could make sense to buy the Ethereum coin. I own a little bit of Avalanche. I don't know if you've heard of the Avalanche network, so I invest in there. But like when I see this crypto downfall, I mean, they say it's going to be like a crypto winter because essentially everyone's lost so much faith in, like, you know, with, you've heard obviously the news with FTX and what happened there, right? Yeah. So scary. I mean, it is scary, and people say it's like the Lehman Brothers of crypto, right? And think of how long it took, you know, the financial system to stabilize after the 2008 financial crisis. So we could be in for a number of years before people feel like there's trust built into that system. But maybe it's a good thing. Maybe like it kind of, you know, I obviously I feel sad for people who would have invested a ton of money and just followed their friend or other people and they lost a ton. But maybe this like creates a little bit more legitimacy and focus on like what crypto is actually supposed to be about, because there's like so much noise in this space, right? Like and
there's new coins coming out all
these
time.
Altcoins, like it makes no sense, right? Like so hopefully it kind of, there's a bit of a cleanup that kind of happens. And again, that sucks for a lot of people who would have lost the money, but maybe then it actually strengthens and you actually get a proper you know, you see some real blockchains that emerge and start to add the value that they're supposed to have. Yeah.
Hopefully, yes.
Yeah. But yeah, that I didn't really know Sam Bankman, or what's his name? The guy who owns FTX, who essentially went back. I think it's Sam Bankman or Brinkman or something like that. But he's like in his 20s and he was just rolling in all kinds of cash. And then apparently what happened was that the company Binance, which is another crypto exchange, they essentially were going to invest in FTX, and then they found something shady, so then they pulled out. And when they pulled out, that sent a signal to everybody like, oh, Binance is pulling out, something's wrong here. And then people started asking for their money, and then FTX didn't have it, and then the floor came out from underneath them. So it's a pretty bad situation.
Yeah, well, that's why people have to do their research too.
Yeah,
like you said, you can't just go by what other people are doing. I'm lucky because my friends are actually doing well in crypto, so I'm just going along with it.
I feel like you just named a paradox, but I'm going to let you
figure that out. But no, they're doing well. So, and like, they know what they're doing. So I'm going to listen to them. They're doing well in life.
Well, I wish you well. I hope everything works out for you.
Yeah, you don't want to take advice from someone who's not doing well in life.
Yeah, I do. I mean, I think sometimes though there are a lot of people who say they're doing well, but then or can talk a good game that they're doing well, but then I tend to trust the people who are not so. And I'm not saying I don't know your friends. I'm not saying this is about your friends, but I'm just saying that I tend to trust people who are more low key, but you can sense they know their shit, but they're not the people who are out there talking about it. They're more
flashy.
Reserved. Yeah, they're not flashy. They're more reserved. So yeah.
No, I don't trust flashy people. They're always hiding something.
Yeah.
Or trying to compensate for something that's missing in their life.
Sure. Yeah, there's some sort of insecurity there.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. I do wonder what's going to happen from a government standpoint, like how they're going to respond to this, because I don't think they can't. I think they're going to be pressured to, or they're going to want to. So I am curious to see what the United States government will do in this situation, and how heavy-handed it'll be, or because there's just a lot of people I mean, I don't fully understand blockchain networks and their value, but there's going to be a lot of people who don't, and so hopefully they have smart people in government who can advise and do some good work there. But otherwise, I don't know. I mean, I think there's some general thinking that, okay, it creates legitimacy if you do have a regulatory environment, and maybe that's a good thing. But I feel like sometimes governments can overcorrect in these situations.
Yeah.
And, you go to one end and then it comes back to something more,
it's one extreme to the other.
Exactly. Yeah.
Sometimes there's no middle ground.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
no, go ahead.
But a lot of people are in crypto to get away from the government.
Yeah, I mean it's supposed to be something more decentralized.
Yeah.
But the thing though is that like crypto was getting kind of centralized though, right? Like there's the large players, large exchanges, right, that are kind of dominating the scene. Like
when you look at Chile, they have Bitcoin now as it's part of their currency, which is scary.
Yeah, which is it Chile that pegged their currency against Bitcoin, or was there was a country that pegged their currency against?
I thought it was Chile.
God, but Chile just elected somebody who this amazing young president who had this amazing speech at the UN.
Oh,
and he talked about like social justice and just was like very inspiring. Oh, wow. I listened to his speech, so I don't know. He doesn't seem like the kind of guy who would peg their nation's currency against Bitcoin, but maybe this was before him. I don't know.
Yeah, it could have been. I know like a country did.
Yeah, me too. I do know there's a country.
Yeah, it was either Chile or Ecuador. I'm thinking Chile though. Yeah, don't quote me on that, but it definitely affected it did affect the cryptocurrency though after.
Yeah. You have this, before we start recording, you had this thought about central banks.
Because I think it's corrupt.
Okay, so I want to hear more about this.
There's not much.
I want to be clear. I gotta drop my mic here, but I want to be clear. When you say central banks, do you mean like the Bank of Canada, the Federal Reserve? Or are you talking about like the big banks, like in Canada, like RBC, CIBC, like that? Like, which banks are you talking about?
The big banks in Canada.
So like you're talking about like the big four banks or something like that, like CIBC, RBC, all those?
Oh, not just that. Like not a specific bank, just central banking in general. I have issues with central banking. I always have. My ex-husband and I were actually both conspiracy theorists, and we just believe that there are people out there that just do not have our best interest in mind. Yeah.
Okay. So I'm gonna push you. I feel like we need to distinguish. We need to distinguish just like
I just don't trust certain agencies, government, central banking. I just don't trust them.
Okay.
Yeah, that's all. I don't want to sound like a crazy person with all these
No,
theories and
I
yeah.
think I think I mean I think it's a mysterious world. I don't think there's a lot of I think the central banks are trying to become more transparent. Like you'll see, for instance, where the for example the chairman of the Federal Reserve or the governor of the Bank of Canada, they'll do a lot more testifying in front of like the politicians, whereas that didn't really happen as much. Like
Happened before, yeah.
I think they're trying to do better in that sense. But also, I mean, statements that come from these central banks are almost so cryptic, right? Like you have to
Yes.
have like you have to have
You have
specialized
to
training to
know.
understand, yeah, what each word means, because each word is so powerful when they release their policy statements. So I think it is a secret word. But I mean, I don't know if I would say that the central bank that controls our monetary policy is trying to um, negatively affect the lives of people. I think that they probably see it from a very systems point of view, and they're trying to make sure that certain indicators in a certain the economy is managed within a certain way or whatever. Obviously, the private banks, I agree with you. I mean, like their bottom line um, are profits, and I mean, I had somebody on the podcast who was an economist for RBC, and he focuses on climate change. And I was like, well, why would the banks get? Why is RBC focused on climate change? And
Yeah.
he's like, well, we care about markets, and we know that there's an emerging area, and we know that this creates disruption. The climate change is going to create disruption to the economy, so we want to be ahead of the game here. And I mean, it's super smart,
Yeah.
right? But it just didn't seem it was kind of odd that
Yeah.
the banks have dedicated like policy people and researchers who are thinking about these kind of big issues. But yeah, I mean, obviously for the private banks, they're profit driven. I'm okay
Yeah.
with like, I mean, I feel like it's very clear to me that if you're going to get involved in banking and finance, that like earning a high income and making money is like, a part of it.
Priority. Yeah.
Yeah, like I get that. I have a problem more so when it's other professions where like the focus is supposed to be on people,
Yeah.
right? Like where it's supposed to be focused on helping people, like healthcare, for instance, right?
Yes.
I have a bit of a challenge. I feel challenged by when healthcare professionals, for instance, obviously healthcare professionals should earn what
They're
they're
not
worth,
working for
and
free.
yeah, they're not working for free. They need to earn what the amount of money they would have spent for education and training and all
Yeah.
that sort of thing. But I get challenged by when I see healthcare professionals solely focused on making as much
Profit.
money as they can
Yeah.
for the sake, and if they're not adding a whole lot of value to their patients' care and their well-being, right?
No.
Like, I mean, I think like the system that, for doctors, for instance, like the fee for service model, right? Where every time you go into a doctor's office and they bill you,
Yeah.
and it just encourages more and more billing. I mean, I am always hopeful that you find a doctor that, yeah, maybe does that, but then they really provide you really good quality of care. But
Yeah.
I've been in situations where you go to like your local walk-in clinic and they spend 5 minutes with you, but they charge the system like
Yeah.
$50, and I'm like, what was that for? Like that's
Yeah.
just all they're doing is just raking up the billings against the government. Like to me, I have a problem with that. Whereas if like I have a friend and he's like in investment banking and finance, he went in there to make money, right? Like that was his
Yes.
goal. Like it's very clear to me. I don't
Yeah.
feel very conflicted by that.
Yes.
Obviously, I would love that person to have like some sort of altruistic side to him and or
Yes.
her, and that they could benefit society. But
Yeah.
if they don't, I'm like, they kind of
It is.
went into this space because they wanted to make money, and that's
Yeah.
okay. So
No, I agree with the healthcare profession. That's actually one of the complaints when I lived in Fort McMurray. The doctors just felt like it was an assembly line.
hmm,
It was just patient after patient after patient.
right.
And I do agree because I did go to one doctor and I would never go back to that doctor. The nurse did an amazing job making me feel safe and secure and taken care of. The doctor just acted like I was Like we were wasting his time.
Yeah.
Because I didn't need any medicine. It was just for a checkup. So that is definitely a problem. I think that's something I talked about with my kids, actually. Being a doctor because you actually want to provide the right care for people, as opposed to some people just want to be doctors because it pays well.
And I mean, I also appreciate, I mean, that if you want to do well in your life and you want some financial security, and I mean, those are important factors. I'm not discounting that, right?
No,
But
you have to
I
pay.
feel like I feel like the primary objective, if you're going to be in the healthcare space, is that you want to serve people, you want to help people, and you should be paid accordingly, and you should be paid for your education and all that. And I think doctors should be paid well, and or healthcare professionals, you know, should be paid well. But for it to be a source of like profiteering
Only.
only,
Yeah.
that's a problem for me. So
Yep. I had a client who was responsible for interviewing the doctors, and she was really funny. She said she turned down a lot of students. Like she wrote against them becoming doctors. She said she had a bad feeling about them. They should not have been doctors.
yeah.
Probably profiting.
Yeah.
They're probably more money focused
Yeah.
than
Yeah.
care focused.
Yeah. Did you hear about this mission to the moon?
No, which is so weird. Do you think everybody would be talking about it? I didn't see anything pop up on my Google, my social media, nothing.
That must be, you know, maybe it's just my algorithms is biased, but
Maybe, but I don't
yeah.
know, because when SpaceX launched a few years ago, my phone blew up. So I'm surprised this didn't. Because, yeah, with my algorithm, I like space and science. I'm a bit of a nerd, so it should have popped up.
Do you find, I had this conversation with Kyle one time, do you find that space is more interesting or the ocean?
That's tough because I love the ocean. I think it's so mysterious. I don't know what's under there. It's who knows like how many other species we haven't discovered yet in our own planet, which I think is amazing. But there's just something about the unknown because with Earth, with space, you don't know what's out there. So that's tough. That's tough. I love both.
Yeah, I think they're both.
I think they're both
obviously there's so much more explore. There's so much to explore with our own planet. I think it's just the vastness for me, and every time I try to think about space, my mind hurts. There's something about that just is very compelling.
But there's something about the ocean too. Like I like to believe the Mariana Trench still has some unknown species down there. I pretend there's like mermaids. There's got to be something special in the ocean that we haven't seen yet.
It's there's so much we don't know. Absolutely. There's the mission essentially was that it was called Artemis 1, and they launched a spacecraft to go around the moon, and then essentially test various different things. Like I think they're trying to see like how much radioactivity is there, and like can essentially humans create a base on the moon, right? I think like their hope is, I think 2026 I think is when NASA is going to launch people to the moon and establish something.
That's pretty soon, actually.
It's not too far. So this is supposed to really inform that. But there's some amazing pictures. Like you got to take a look. It's you see this blue marble like so far in the distance, and then it's like they're the pictures of the other side of the moon, right, and the Earth, and it was just like wow, like
that's amazing. Yeah, I love space. My son is really into space, so he's actually the right one to talk about this. I don't think he would agree about. I don't know what he would say about colonizing the moon because he knows all about the atmosphere and the formation, and I'm sure he's got some theories.
Yeah, I don't know what the purpose. I mean, I imagine there's multiple purposes. One could be that you could use the moon to slingshot to another to go to like Mars, right? If it allows for shorter travel or something like that.
Travel.
But it's,
and then would they be mining the moon?
Well, that's, I mean, there could be some economic pieces there too.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, there's unlimited possibilities.
Yeah.
There's another one that was just amazing. It was called the DART mission, and this was probably a few months ago. But they were essentially they launched something into space to impact an asteroid, and to see if they could actually get it to move. So that in the case of like it was essentially to test planetary defense. And so that if an asteroid were ever to hit was in the trajectory of hitting Earth, that they could actually, shift the trajectory. But just I mean, we have computers that can probably do a lot of these calculations, I imagine. But just the modeling and all the thinking that has to happen to like get this projectile to hit this really fast asteroid, is incredible. Like,
yeah, I know, and. Yeah, science is just amazing. Everything they're doing up there is pretty amazing.
Yeah.
I'm fascinated by space. So it's something my son and I have in common.
Yeah. I was just reading yesterday that the European Space Agency is going to trial essentially like a solar powered like system in space, so that it gathers the sun's rays and collect like unlimited energy, because obviously like if you have solar panels on the Earth, you're limited by when the sun's up and down or whatever. But this way we would have constant energy, and then it would transmit microwaves back to the Earth, and that's how people could capture the power. And so they're just starting this, and so what they're doing is they're just in a a large space, and they have this thing where it's shooting microwaves to this other receiver to see if it actually kind of works. But yeah, it's. I was like, wait, why are we doing this? I don't understand what's like. Aren't there much more practical ways of doing this? But that's the thing with engineers and scientists. There's like, I just want to tinker and do something different here.
Engineers are definitely. Their minds are different for sure.
Yeah.
But do you find like engineers, they're either stay in the box or they think outside the box? Because some engineers are very square.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of I literally just had this conversation with a friend of mine who is a trained engineer, and I think that there are a lot of engineers who want to explore their creativity, but the profession that they're in doesn't always allow them to. Like, it's very sort of technical and design oriented. Like they're very limited in what they can do, whereas a lot of the creativity happens by the people maybe below them, like the engineering techs and that sort of thing. So I imagine they got into the field because they wanted to build and they wanted to be creative, but I don't know if they always get those opportunities sometimes in the jobs that they're in. So
that's too bad.
Yeah. But anything else on your mind?
What about those nurses that are coming from the Philippines?
Oh, yes. Yeah. I was mentioning how I mean, there's a huge shortage of all these healthcare workers in Canada, and I imagine other parts of the world. And so the government of Alberta has essentially signed memorandum of understanding with the Philippines to attract Filipino nurses to Canada. Yeah. And I don't know. I mean, I think it's interesting. I mean, I think it's a creative way of building up your workforce, and I think the most dominant language outside of English in Alberta is what's the language that the I'm going to say it wrong.
Try it.
Well, I'm going to spell it if I get it correctly.
Okay.
It's TELAGDU?
No.
Not even close.
It's Tagalog.
What?
Tagalog.
Tagalog.
Okay, so a white person would pronounce it Tagalog.
No, I'm not going to say that. I can't. No.
But in the Philippines, the vowels are very blunt, so it's Tagalog.
Tagalog.
Yes, very good.
Tagalog.
Yeah, it's always funny when like white people are like, "Oh, you speak Tagalog."
But how do you spell that though?
Exactly as it sounds. Tagalog.
I wasn't that far off. I wasn't
you
that
had
far.
like a D.
I said, no. I didn't say D. I didn't say D.
I know you said D at the end.
No. We're gonna rewatch this later.
We're gonna watch it.
And I think I said, instead of the A's, I said Tegelog.
Oh, okay. No, it's not Tagalog.
It's Tagalog.
Yeah, no, you pronounced it really well.
All right.
Oh, there's so many Filipinos in Alberta. It's crazy.
Yeah.
They're everywhere. I made a joke the other day on my Facebook. Every time Filipinos ask me if I'm Filipina, I pretend I don't understand them. Because they're always asking. They're always like, "Oh, are you Filipino? Or are you Filipino?" They even asked my kids. It was funny when we were at Walmart. They asked my kids, like, "Oh, are you Filipino?" And my daughter's like, "Yeah, I'm half." And she says, "Oh, where were you born?" And my daughter goes, "In my living room." Which is true. She was born in the living room.
Yeah.
But Filipinos always ask, "Oh, where were you born? Which part of the country are you from?" I remember this one guy asked which part of the country I was from, where my mom was, what my parents did for work. And my son looks at me, he's like, "Why was he asking for your whole life story?"
I know.
So now I just pretend I don't understand them. But no, I think it's great that the government is doing that, because in the Philippines, your parents either want you to be a nurse or a doctor. Those two things. And if you're not any of those, you're a failure.
I think for me, it was just interesting that like there must be a reason, but I mean that they focused on the Philippines, right? Like if there aren't any other
they're all
countries,
nurses.
Yeah,
every single person you're born, you're told to be a nurse. Like I can name probably 5-10 people in my family that all took nursing.
Wow.
I don't think any one of them ever ended up being a nurse, but they all took nursing because that's what you're told. If you're a nurse or a doctor in the Philippines, you're regarded as like very educated and wonderful. You're going to have a great life. Your parents are going to be so proud of you. You're going to bring honor to your family. Yeah, so that's why they probably chose the Philippines, because every person there is a nurse.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
sense. Why a lot of Filipino women here in Canada are actually nurses, nursing aid attendants, because a lot of them were nurses in the Philippines, came to Canada, their degree wasn't recognized, and rather than upgrading, they choose to be healthcare aides.
Healthcare aides, yeah.
So they're still in the field, but they're lower.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, because that's why like my aunt is a doctor and the captain of her police precinct, so she's very talented, very successful. She could come to Canada anytime she wanted with her degrees, but why would she when she's gonna have to start at the very bottom again? Like she's delivering babies in the Philippines and telling all these police officers what to do as a captain. Yeah, so to come here, she's not going to have that. No. So it's very unfortunate.
Yeah, and there are going to probably be some people who wouldn't even accept her the same way she's going to accept her. Like as
she's
a
very
police captain, right?
Yeah.
Like even
as a woman,
even if she probably as a woman, and even if she made it through the system and she became an officer here in Canada, there would be some people who probably wouldn't see her. Wouldn't see her with the same credibility. Right?
No, exactly. Very unfortunate. But you did say that the government was going to help these nurses with
That's what they said. Yeah, is that
upgrading.
they
Yeah, that would be good.
essentially the Filipino government will promote Alberta as like a prime destination, and in
Yeah.
exchange, Alberta's government would help sort of ease the transition, help with licensing, all that. So hopefully, I mean, then you'll see
With
more
our tax
nurses.
dollars.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's something I can get behind. I'd rather put our tax dollars towards that than all the other crap our government puts our tax dollars to.
And we're out of time for today's episode. No, okay. Well,
As I get all annoyed.
No. But what's like a couple of things where you get really frustrated? I guess.
Lots of things. Sending our money out of the country. Don't get me started on.
You mean like through foreign aid? You mean?
Yeah. Okay. I'm not heartless. I believe in helping people. I believe in humanitarian work, but you should focus on your own people until your country is so strong that you can afford to help other people. Why not focus on our seniors, our veterans right now? And that's what bothers me. When our own people are struggling. And yes, there will always be people in other countries that will need our help. But we should help our own people first.
So, and I'm not saying you're saying this, but would you want all countries to just stop their foreign aid?
No, and that's the tough part. It's a double-edged sword. I know. It's tough. It is. Like, I'm not a heartless person, but it bothers me seeing our own citizens.
Well, struggling. I mean, that by you saying that obviously shows that you're not a heartless person. I mean, you're not saying that like, okay, don't send the money outside the country because I want more of that. I want more of that pie. Like you're not suggesting
no, absolutely not. I will keep working, but
you want to go to people, right?
Yeah, I want our veterans to be taken care of. I want our seniors to be taken care of. Yeah. Our school systems, we're fortunate enough to not really be affected by what's going on with the public school system. But my friends and clients, their kids go to public school. They're not happy. Yeah. So.
Yeah, I don't know how much what Canada's foreign aid budget looks like. I imagine it's probably increased with the current government, but hopefully it's being used effectively, if anything. Yeah. I mean, there's been a lot of spending overall with this government, and so to support people in a number of ways. But yeah, I think if you had a world without any sort of foreign aid, there'd be a lot of people in trouble.
I think so.
So.
I'm not going to get into Donald Trump and.
Uh-oh.
A lot of people hated him.
He did announce his candidacy for president again.
A lot of people hate him, but when he was in power, the states were doing good.
All right, we're going to save this one for next time because I think we're going to have some disagreements here.
Yeah, I know.
Not probably, but we will have some disagreements on that one.
Yeah, don't come at me.
I'm not going to come at you. I think it's important that I think it's I have.
I'm not a Donald Trump supporter.
No, that's.
But he put his country first.
Even. You lost me as soon as you said that. I was like willing to have a conversation with you, and then you used a line.
I'm not a supporter.
I know, but you just, oh God. What I was going to say was that I have a friend who is, him and I, if we weren't friends, we would never we'd have a hard time talking to each other. But I always say, like, when you know somebody's family, it's hard to insult them to their face. Yeah, you actually have to, you're forced to have a proper conversation. So like, I'd love to talk to you about your different thoughts on things. And I think it's important. I think we all should be having rich conversations. I think it's really bad when we're all, like you see in the States, and this is creeping up in Canada too, where people on the other side of a political spectrum are seen as the enemy. Like that's terrible, right? Like we can
You should be able to talk about your differences.
Absolutely, we should be able to talk about it. We're not always going to agree, and that's okay. No. I think the challenge, though, is that if we're going to have conversations, though, there has to be some, we have to acknowledge basic facts. And that's something that is being lost sometimes, is people are talking about things when they don't even know what they're talking about. Basic things, right? It could be basic scientific things now that are being questioned. Like it's, that is a problem, because then how do you start anything? How do you have any sort of conversation? So that is a big issue. But otherwise, no, I'm happy to, and I think, like, for example, if you go back to 2016 when Hillary Clinton called Donald Trump supporters deplorables, like I think that was a huge mistake, right? Like just because people voted for Donald Trump, doesn't make them all all horrible people or whatever. People believed in a certain message and what he was saying, and they identified. There are a lot of Obama supporters that voted for Trump because the message that Obama sold them on, and how he tried to connect with the common person, Trump was able to do that, and Hillary Clinton wasn't able to do that.
No, and I have my theory about Hillary as well. Yeah, right. Conspiracy theories. I don't trust her
either. Either my podcast is just going to take off, or it's going to tank. It's going to go either one of these ways. I have no idea. Otherwise, I'm going to get a bunch of conspiracy people subscribing, or I'm going to get I don't know. No, I wouldn't erase it. And it's important to have these conversations. Yeah. Thanks for the chat. I really enjoyed it again. Hope to have you on again if you want to bring all your conspiracy stuff. It's all good. As long as it's not hurting anybody and you're not saying things that are mean and unkind, then
no, definitely not.
So
no.
But hope you enjoyed yourself, and we should do it again soon.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Thank you for having me again.
You bet. Appreciate having you. All right, everyone. Have a great rest of your day, and thanks for joining me and May here, and see you next time. Bye, everyone.